Hey guys, it's me Stephanie and I'm back with another video. So today, in continuation of mine and Stephan's new series on our adoption journey, but not even our adoption journey, but my adoption journey, I want to talk about my adoption story. I think I've given bits and pieces of my story and I've said why I have negatively felt like I've been impacted by adoption and positively, and my thoughts on adoption and if we will adopt due to my adoption story, but I've never really given my story. I think it's going to be short. It's going to be shorter just because I don't have a lot to my story, but I will give you what I know. So yeah, let's just go right into it. So this is literally my paperwork for my adoption. I have this, which is just a few papers. And then I have this, which is, oh, it's all coming apart like these. And this is what I came with when I was adopted. If you can see right here, this is my passport that was all made ready for me for when I was coming on the plane to Canada. But yeah, I was adopted from Port-au-Prince, Haiti back in 1990. Well, I was adopted in 1998, but I didn't come to Canada, I don't think, until 1999. So how that worked was Port-au-Prince, Haiti is pretty, it was pretty corrupt back when my adopted parents adopted me, so they couldn't actually come and get me from Haiti. They had to go to Montreal, where I was flown to, and I was staying with a family up until they could meet me in Montreal. So I was only there for about a weekend or a week before my adopted parents met me up there. And then they picked me up. So they picked me up from Montreal. They stayed in Montreal for a bit, did a bit of bonding with just me and my adopted parents, just because when I went back, I was going to be going to a family where my adopted parents, they actually had 3 kids already. So yeah, 3 kids already. They had a daughter who was 4 or 5 at the time, and then they had twin sons who were 3 at the time, I think, maybe even 4. So yeah, I was going back to siblings because when I came from Haiti, my parents adopted me, and from what I'm aware of, I don't think I had any siblings that were known. I have been told that people think I did have siblings, but yeah, it just, when I was adopted, my mom, like, she put on this paperwork, I'm just gonna check, all she had was her name. So my dad's name was not on the paperwork or anything. I know nothing about my dad. I really wish I knew some things about my dad, but I don't. So I don't know if I have siblings. I don't know if I have siblings that are adopted. I really don't know. And I wish I did. And I've actually searched, I've done research, tried to find my biological family members. I've tried, but it's been dead end after dead end after dead end. So I'm not giving up, but I need to take a break because it gets very tiring after a while. So once I came from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, I was taken to Alberta, Canada, where I was going to live with my adopted family for the rest of my life, and I'm still living in Alberta, Canada, and I consider myself super blessed and super lucky to be in Alberta, Canada. But yes, I was taken to Canada to live. I was taken to a family, like I said, that had 3 other kids, and in the end, there would end up being 8 kids in the family, but that's a whole nother story. I came to Canada, but my adopted parents, they couldn't come to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, just because at the time, back in 1998, 1999, it was super corrupt and it was super dangerous for Caucasian people to be coming to Haiti. So they couldn't pick me up. So what actually ended up happening was I was put in the orphanage, and the orphanage put me on a plane, I feel like with a few other kids who were getting adopted, and they flew us to Montreal, which I guess is the closest, and Montreal is a very popular place for Haitians to go if you're coming from Haiti, just because it's French speaking, and yeah, that's just what they do. So I was flown to Montreal, and I stayed with a foster family for a week, maybe even just a weekend, and then my adopted parents met me at that foster family's place, and then they picked me up, and I think they stayed in Montreal for a few days. And while we were in Montreal, my adopted dad's brother actually was doing something in Montreal, and actually had the chance to meet me. So he was the first uncle I had ever met. I will put a picture up if I can find a picture. But yeah, he was the first uncle I had ever met in Haiti, coming from Haiti, and he just met me. And then after that, like after a few days being in Montreal and my parents just getting some bonding time with me, they ended up taking me back to Alberta, Canada, which is where I still live to this day. And I met the rest of my family. And like I said, they had 3 other kids already. They had a daughter and 2 sons. And of course, in pictures and stuff, I was at the airport and everybody was so excited to meet me because I was just the new baby. And that was that. I grew up with them. I was not the only adopted kid though. After I was adopted, they ended up adopting my sister, but not my biological sister. She's just my adopted sister. And she was adopted from Africa when I was about 4. But going back to me, I don't know how well I transitioned into the life. It must have been pretty okay. My mom's stepmom at the time could speak French, and I was used to hearing Creole and French, which is a mixture of French and I don't know what else. And so I could understand her, and apparently my eyes just lit up when I would be held by her or saw her, because that's just who I understood her, opposed to understanding other people. I needed attention a lot because I didn't get that in the orphanage or the first year of my life. So my mom said I always wanted to be carried. I always wanted to be held, and it would get their arms tired. So sometimes they just had to let me cry it out because they couldn't always hold me. And of course, at first they were holding me and they were really bonding with me. But after like 2 years, they can't always be holding me. It's just a lot. So I struggled with that. And I think that was part of why I struggle with attachment issues, is because I never really got attached to anybody early on. And I never ended up letting myself get attached to anybody else, just because I just had that attachment and that fear of being left, or that fear of being unwanted. And that was subconsciously a fear that I didn't realize I had up until I got older. I went to a Christian Caucasian school. So most of the kids I went to school with were Caucasian. Up until I was in like maybe junior high, there was a lot more people of color. But prior to that, I was like one of the only Black people in the school, and I dealt with racism. I was told by a teacher that I would, if it was 50 years ago, she pointed right at me and said, you would not be here. And I understand that that's true, but you don't need to point me out. You don't need to single me out in school. And that made me feel really crappy. I was told by a kid in my class that the difference between me and a bag of poo was the bag. And that's something else that also made me feel super crappy. And to this day, I still remember that. And to this day, I don't know, it still bothers me, and it almost like festers, and it still hurts me. I went to that school all the way up until grade 12, and it didn't go without issues. I had many issues. I had many struggles. There was a lot going on in my mind that I didn't realize. I dealt with mental illness. I dealt with just so much. I dealt that I just didn't realize, and that was all effect to me being adopted. Once I graduated high school, I didn't see eye to eye with my adopted parents as much, and you would see that in some of my other videos. We don't really talk anymore. There's issues that were going on, and there's pain that both I had and both they had, and trauma that I had, and they don't, from what I feel, is they don't fully understand what I was going through, and instead of understanding, there's a lot of grudges that are held on me, and they let their biological children not talk to me and hold these grudges on me. And so I needed to take that out of my life, because it was getting too hard for me, and I was trying to move on and trying to be the best person I could be. And that's what I'm still trying to do to this day. But prior to that, growing up, for the most part, other than some of my issues and some of everybody else's issues, I had a pretty good relationship with my adopted siblings. It was just when we got older and we were not seeing eye to eye, and they very much take the sides of my adopted parents, and my adopted parents very much take the sides of their biological kids, which is totally fine. They have that special connection to each other, and I don't hate them for it. It sucks. It makes me feel less wanted, and it really plays a part in me not feeling like I belong because of that. Today I am living with my boyfriend still in Alberta, Canada, and it's not easy. It's still not easy. Whitecourt is a very small town with a very small population of people of color and just diversity in general. And people, they weren't used to dark-skinned people from what I was told and from the feeling I've given. So I've been asked some pretty weird questions. I've been told some pretty weird things, and it's taken a toll on me, but I'm not letting it ruin me. I don't know how long we will be here because I don't want my kids to have to deal with the discrimination that I'm dealing with. But for now, this is just where my boyfriend works. Like, this is just where Stefan works. So this is just where we're put, and this is just what we're gonna have to deal with. And as an adult, I'm learning more and more ways to cope and deal with this situation. So yeah, so that's kind of my adoption story. That's kind of what I deal with. That's kind of what it's like to be adopted. Being adopted, it's not easy in any way. I wouldn't go as far as saying it sucks, but it's definitely, maybe I will. It kind of sucks sometimes. It's really good other times. I am grateful for where I am, and I'm grateful for being here, and I'm grateful for the people who gave me that second chance at life. But I wish that there was more effort put into my culture. There's more effort put into me knowing who I am, more effort put into me really understanding adoption and the trauma that I was going to deal with and face every day in my life, instead of just not choosing to understand and people living the life that they were living because it's normal and they have what they have, and I should just be perfect and grateful. That's really hard for me because as an adopted child, we have trauma. Yeah, sorry for my rambling. That's my adoption story. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later. Bye, guys.